Hello, I'm Kyle Jones. Welcome to Join the Conversation, a podcast from COCM. Today's guest is Dr. Artie Travis. He brings over 4 decades of experience in higher education leadership. As VP for Student Affairs at Frostburg State University, he oversees a broad range of student-focused departments from residential life and diversity initiatives to counseling and career services. Throughout his career, Dr. Travis has built a reputation for fostering partnerships between campus stakeholders to enhance the student experience and support institutional goals. In this episode, we'll discuss the critical role partnerships like those with COCM play in creating a vibrant, student-centered campus and explore how those collaborations can drive success for students and universities alike. Dr. Travis, thank you for joining us today.
Well, Kyle, or Mr. Jones, Kyle, it is exciting to be able to be here to join with you on this podcast. I'm looking forward to our conversation about our partnerships that we've had on this campus and others.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, jumping into this, I was wondering, could you share an example of how COCM has positively impacted the student experience? You've been with us on across multiple campuses over a number of years, correct?
Yes. I have been here at Frostburg State for 5 years. I served as Chief Student Affairs Officer at Bowie State for 13 years, and and I've been a vice president for about 25 years.
So, what have you seen over those that number of years uh, in the kind of student housing area with COCM and what you do on those campuses?
We know, Kyle, years ago, and I guess you'd stated in the introduction, I've been doing this for about 40, 45 years. I would consider myself a dinosaur sometimes. When P3s first started coming out, of course, it was, quick build, good build. But again, part of the concern that I had going into my first P3 was, is it going to still be part of the campus community? What I have found working for 18 years with COC, I'm sorry, if it's okay, I want to keep calling them capstone. I've been a capstone person for so many years, but I'll try. But COC,
Yeah, I mean, capstone works for us if we want to keep it short, then. Yeah.
okay, COCM has impacted the student life on this campus and other campuses, and some of my colleagues that also have P3s with COCM, because it has created a seamless learning, living environment. When I say that seamless piece is because, uh, again, I go back to dinosaur days, and we were always worried about contracting out. Some of my colleagues were worried about contracting out, but when I got to Bowie State University, we had just gotten rid of a company that was managing the facility called Krista McCullough. They had managed it pretty horribly over a 2 or 3 year period, and we brought in COCM to be able to manage it. I just from day one, there was a seamless partnership between COCM and Bowie State University. You look at the leadership development, you look at the community development, you look at over these years the fact that they didn't come in just as a business. They didn't come in just as the bottom line. I always worried, they always worried about the bond debt ratio. We had to get to that bond debt ratio in order for us to be able to realize some of the other attributes of that partnership. But they created truly here and also at Bowie State University, where we work hand in hand with our staff. So when you ask for about a particular program, I can't say just a particular program. What I can say is just particular leadership that has worked in partnership with the institution. It gets to a point, it's just like when folks were going out and doing dining services, it was like, well, that's the contract dining services, but that's not part of the institution. Our students at Bowie and my students here, they see it as part of the university. which it should be, part of the university with that partnership. So the fact that the leadership has had the experience on a campus has created those good opportunities to make sure that we engage with our partners, with Edgewood currently, with the current manager over there, in meaningful ways to make sure that the overall campus experience. You know, when you ask for one significant piece, when I was at Bowie State, we did contract, COCM did the operations and we did the program piece. Here, Edgewood does the program piece and the operation piece, but there still is a seamless partnership because our RAs train together, our RAs work together, and the team and the staff, they continue to work together to make sure that there's a good residential living, learning environment and experience. I hope I didn't go too long, and I hope I answered the question.
No, of course. Some really fantastic, insightful stuff. And to expand upon that a little bit more, can you share some more specific insights on what makes a partnership like the one with COCM effective from a student affairs perspective? With us coming on campus, becoming a partner, things are working well. What have you seen over the years from that student affairs perspective on the effectiveness of our partnerships on campuses like yours?
Well, again, we were fortunate and lucky with Medco when I was at Bowie State University to bring in COCM or Capstone because they did there and they also are currently doing an excellent job of balancing consistency with customization. Uh, they bring in, I think, I don't know if enough people know about Fresh Eyes. Fresh Eyes has been
Hmm.
a wonderful idea, wonderful way to partner with the different campuses because it helps solidify some of the best practices and basically that baseline high quality service because when I was at Bowie State and here, the programming was the same across campus. It was different. It was the same across campus. But I think that at Bowie State and also here, COCM has been able to learn the campus culture. They have been able to understand the specific values that are happening on the campus. And because of their experience across the country, we benefit from their high standards of residential life because, you know, you know, you don't see old, outdated furniture over in Edgewood. You didn't see old, outdated furniture in Christa McCullough. Now you saw furniture that students would mess up, but it's just like the cycling in and cycling out to make sure everything stays fresh, the painting stayed fresh. So there were high standards, but we were able to work together. One example, at Bowie State that I have to say was just a significant piece was the fact that we were able to. I don't know if you ever saw the movie New Jack City. In New
Yeah.
Jack, okay, in New Jack City,
I'm
you
prepared
know,
for this reference. Then
uh,
this might be a bit of a stretch, but I'm with you,
okay.
Dr. Travis. Yeah.
Well, there was the Carter. Uh, Before COCM got there, and before we really took that partnership together, I called that place the Carter because
Hmm.
everything was going on, nothing was going right, and just being able to sit down with Medco and also with COCM, we were able to say, look, we've got to figure out how to get these students to pay their bills. We've got to figure out how to make sure they understand their environment is what they make of it. And we were able to negotiate with the vice president for finance administration a way for us to cut off and hold financial aid and other monies after they paid their bill to to Bowie State, to make sure that the money then went out to uh, uh, Chris McCullough or COCM to make sure that they were paying the bills. Because one of the problems that we had there then was that the students weren't required, because they had a contract with COCM, they weren't required to pay their bills when they got their refunds. I mean, they were supposed to, but we were able to work out an agreement where the financial aid, once they paid their bills at Bowie, any money left over in a refund went straight to Krista McCullough to be able to pay some of the bills. Cut down on the collectibles very significantly and created a better sense of responsibility. Here at Frostburg State, we were able to do the same thing. The collectibles weren't as bad as when we first started, but we were able to work again with the vice president for finance administration and with Edgewood to make sure that the money that's supposed to be paid to Edgewood came out of their refunds before they got a refund. And it's like COCM could have just said, no, look, you got to make sure these bills are paid, and if you don't get the bills paid, somebody's going to have to pay them. So they said, how can we work together in partnership to make sure that that happens? And the unique piece also is the fact that we were able to work together, and we were able both to be able to, because I went sometimes back and forth with the folks over in Krista McCullough, but it was all to figure out at the end of the day, what is this going to do to make this operation good for Bowie State and good for COCM?
It seems like we've established that strong relationships with campus stakeholders are crucial to this progress.
Yep.
So, kind of for our wider audience, and maybe somebody can listen to this and walk away with some information, because we want to provide some value here.
Okay.
What are some of those key factors in building and maintaining these type of relationships over time? Understandably, if a company like ourselves was brought in to handle a problem or a building, all these things that we're talking about would be great if we came in and did that in the first year or two. But since we've spent so much time working with you, Dr. Travis, what were the key factors in not only building the relationship but maintaining that over such a long amount of time as well, and over multiple institutions with yourself?
Okay, so I think you know well enough that transactional leadership, transactional management is passe. I think what has happened with Bowie State and also here is that we work in a transformational manner. We work in a transformational way in order to make sure that the service delivery is student-centered, is holistic for all of it. It's just like, in all these years I've been working with COCM, none of the managers or Michelle or all the ones I've worked with have never come in and said, Artie, this is a business. We got to do it this way. It's Artie. This is a partnership, and it's always, how are we going to be able to make this good for COCM, and how are we going to make it good for Bowie State or for Frostburg? There was never a time where at Bowie State and also even here at Frostburg State, that both groups weren't actively supporting the student academic and social development. I know that when our RAs are trained together, the academic piece, the retention piece, checking on them, how are they doing, how are they being very authentic, and the management has always been authentic with both Bowie State, with Chris McCullough, and here with Edgewood to support that. I think the biggest key piece is that over the time that I've been working with COCM, we've worked in tandem. We've worked as a cross-functional unit. We've been collaborating to make sure that the experience of the students that are living in our traditional halls and Edgewood are not just academic, but well-being, development is very important. One example as far as some of that expertise, and again, you have to grow you have to grow that partnership. But I tell you, it was easy after the first couple years at Bowie State, and very easy once I got up here, because we were working together again. We saw holistically that in order to be successful, we needed to be a student-centered approach. But I had a vacancy at Bowie State for the director of Res Life. And guess who I asked to chair the search committee for my director of Res Life? Not my vice president, assistant vice president, not the assistant director of Res Life, but the manager of Krista McCullough, who wasn't our employee, but she was our partner. A couple people said, can you have an outside contract person? I said, why not? She knows Res Life, and she picked a good director. In fact, she recruited a couple people, and it was a tough choice, but that was about that partnership, that I have faith and trust that she saw what we needed to do to make sure that we are maintaining, not just maintaining the buildings, but maintaining the community that we built together with both the traditional residence halls and the P3.
And as we kind of wrap up here, I've just got one more question for you. As we continue to talk about relationships on campuses, and again, this is for any of our listeners to potentially walk away from listening to this conversation and get something of value from it. So kind of in your professional and personal experience, what advice would you give to institutions or, partners like ourselves looking to foster deeper, more impactful relationships? A big thing for us is that student satisfaction. It's that community building aspects of things. So if somebody that was potentially in your spot, however many years ago, was looking for advice on this, what would you tell those institutions or partners, again, looking to foster a deeper, more impactful relationship with their campus communities?
Well, Kyle, I've had the opportunity on 3 campuses. One campus, they set up a LLC to be the manager of the P3 that I worked with, and it wasn't. The LLC basically let us run it, and we did that. But when I got to Bowie State, and we saw, and again, I say this to say that I've had the experience of working with 2 companies, and I won't say who the other company was, but if anybody out there wanted to ask and call and talk to me for a half hour or whatever, COCM is authentic. They truly want to partner. They truly have to run it as a business, but that's not the first thing that comes out of their mouth. I would say that the partnership is crucial in helping shape the campus experience. Another experience that I didn't talk to you about, and again, it was at Bowie State. We were trying to maintain health and wellness of our students, and Krista McCullough we didn't require them to be on the meal plan because we didn't want to overprice them. But we worked with COCM to be able to manage at least some kind of meal plan, because I tell you, Kyle, it was like when I was there for a couple of years, this is like the domino people, they had students' cards because the students gave them to them, they were running in, and it's just like wellness wasn't, about what they were doing. But we were able to manage a partnership to say, okay, Bowie State, we understand what you need to do, but we also need to make sure that we're meeting that bond debt ratio. But it was something that it wasn't easy, but it was something that we worked with. So it's crucial to be able to be on the same page. And I can say after 18 years with COCM, they're on that same page when you get in. I can say that they are part of the campus environment. The Edgewood folks here at Bowie State, they were all part of my student affairs team. You know, they didn't report to me, but we partnered together. They came to my staff meetings. They were part of our celebrations, and they were really a team to make sure that, you know, you don't see them as an external partner. You really see them as part of the campus environment to be able to build that environment where our students are thriving. And the partnership with COCM has provided us also, as I had mentioned earlier, fresh eyes. I guess you're still doing this, but
We are, yeah.
Okay, I've had them twice. I got frustrated with one of the ones they did at Bowie State because my boss didn't want to accept some of the critical pieces that we needed to do to move forward. I mean, it was great. But you know, the other piece about anyone who wants to come in, the student evaluations. The student evaluations we met every semester because COCM does good about evaluation. What can we do to fix this? What can we do to make sure that we make that change? But the bottom line is, I see COCM as a true partner, part of the institution here. And for me, somebody would say to you, what would you say Dr. Travis's legacy is? And they would say, he cares. Well, what I say is my relationship with COCM would be, they care.
Yeah, thank you for that insight so much. And I think I know a lot of our leadership here, we talk about, yeah, simply, you know, it's not lovey-dovey, but just caring. You know, it's not, as you talked about earlier, it's not just business. It's caring about our communities that we're involved with and that we're partners with. So thank you for expressing that. And, you know, I feel like we're only really scratching the surface at the moment. So I would love to invite you back to chat a bit more if that's on your radar.
Okay.
But, you know, at least want to start with what we've chatted about today and get that out there and see what people think. But yeah, if you ever have the opportunity, would you like to come back and sit down and chat with me a bit more?
I would love to, because again, as we talked about, trust and open communications are important. And that's what makes this partnership successful, because at the end of the day, it helps our students grow and thrive.
That's wonderful. I think I'm going to quote you on that one, Dr. Travis. That is I'm going to put that on a billboard or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, well, all of you, thank you for listening to today's episode of Join the Conversation. I've been Kyle Jones, and my guest has been Dr. Artie Travis, and we appreciate y'all listening. If you would like to learn more about the student housing professionals at COCM and third-party management of on-campus housing, visit our website at cocm.com. You can find more information about today's episode at studenthousingmatters.com. While you're there, check out our blog posts and videos, or submit an idea you'd like our team to explore.